Parenting in modern America has become an activity defined by constant, nagging fear. We worry about illnesses, accidents, and dangers lurking in every shadow. But what if these fears are not protecting our children? What if they are actually hurting them? This question became intensely personal for the author, Kim Brooks, after a single life-altering event. One day, she left her 4-year-old son in their locked car for 5 minutes while she ran into a Target. It was a cool day, the car was safe, he was happy with a game. And the parking lot seemed perfectly normal. She believed she was making a practical, harmless decision to avoid a tantrum. Yet, a stranger saw the boy, filmed him, and called the police, though her son was completely unharmed and had not even been distressed. Brooks was later charged with a crime contributing to the delinquency of a minor. The experience left her bewildered and, most surprisingly, flooded with a deep sense of shame. She couldn't understand what, exactly, the danger was supposed to have been. Kidnapping? She knew from research that the statistical likelihood of a random abduction by a stranger is incredibly tiny. The real shock, however, came from the reactions of others. A close friend offered no sympathy, merely stating that the world is a crazy place and that Brooks had made a bad choice. When she later wrote about the incident, the public response was often vicious. With strangers calling her a terrible mother, it became clear that modern attitudes toward parenting are driven by a level of paranoia that is completely disconnected from rational risk. This intense scrutiny and constant fear is a recent development. Brooks contrasts her experience with her father's childhood in the 1950s. When he was sent to the store alone at age 8, her own mother recalled riding a moped around town at age 10. That kind of independence is unthinkable for most American children today. So, what changed? According to some thinkers, parenthood itself has changed. It is no longer an economic necessity or a simple community obligation. For modern parents, having children is a deliberate choice, an expression of personal fulfillment. This has raised the stakes. Parenting has become a high-pressure, all-consuming job, a performance to be perfected. Mothers today, even those who work full-time, spend more time on hands-on childcare than mothers did in previous generations. Childhood is no longer about free exploration. It is a series of scheduled playdates, enrichment programs, and constantly supervised activities. If the world is statistically safer than ever, why are parents so terrified? The book argues that we are afraid of the wrong things. Brooks spoke with Lenore Skenazy, founder of the Free-Range Kids movement, who pointed out the ultimate irony. The most dangerous part of the author's Target trip was driving the car. Hundreds of children are injured or killed in car accidents every day, a risk we accept without a second thought. Yet, the fantastically rare threat of kidnapping dominates the parental imagination. This is due to a mental shortcut called the availability heuristic. We judge the likelihood of an event not by data, but by how easily we can recall an example. American fears of kidnapping exploded in the 1980s after the tragic, high-profile abduction of Adam Walsh. The story was everywhere. Suddenly, kidnapping was all over the news and magazines, shooting to the top of national concerns, even ahead of nuclear war. The actual risk remains tiny. Children are far more likely to die from choking on food, but because of the media's focus, the fear of kidnapping became a permanent part of our culture. The author began to suspect that these fears are not just about safety, they are about morality. A study from the University of California confirmed this. Participants were given scenarios where a child was left alone. Their assessment of the risk to the child changed dramatically based on why the parent was gone. A child was seen as being in greater danger if their mother was meeting a lover than if she was unconscious in a hospital. Logically, the risk is identical, but the moral judgment created the danger in people's minds. Psychologist Paul Bloom explains this as a common human trait. When we feel moral disapproval, we need a way to justify it, so we invent a danger. We don't just say, "I disapprove of your lifestyle." We say, "What you are doing is putting your child at risk." It is a powerful way to condemn another parent without having to examine our own prejudices. This culture of judgment does not affect everyone equally. It is a weapon used most effectively against poor mothers. Brooks highlights the heartbreaking story of Deborah Harrell, a McDonald's worker in Georgia. During the summer, she could not afford childcare. She let her 9-year-old daughter play in a busy, safe local park with a cell phone while she worked her shift. A stranger called the police. Harrell was arrested, charged with abandonment, and her daughter was placed in foster care for 2 weeks. The United States provides almost no social safety net, no subsidized childcare, no mandatory parental leave, and yet it criminalizes parents who cannot afford 24/7 supervision. In effect, we have made it a crime to be a poor parent. While parents are stressed and shamed, the greatest harm is being done to the children themselves. This is As one expert noted, a terrible time to be a kid. The unstructured outdoor play that defined previous generations has been replaced by a life of supervision. This constant monitoring and lack of freedom have severe consequences. First, it is destroying their physical health. With children no longer free to run around outside, obesity rates have soared. The Centers for Disease Control has warned that if current trends continue, 1 in 3 American adults could have diabetes by 2050. This is a direct consequence of a sedentary, indoor lifestyle, a lifestyle parents enforce out of fear. The risk of a child developing a life-altering health condition from a lack of play is massive and real. Yet we ignore it. We focus instead on the 1 in a million chance of abduction. Second, this parenting style is damaging their mental health. Studies on helicopter parenting, the constant overprotection and interference in a child's life, show a direct link to higher levels of depression and lower life satisfaction in young adults. By trying to protect children from every imaginable and unimaginable risk, we are denying them the freedom to learn, to solve problems, and to build resilience. We are keeping them from learning how to be adults. In our obsessive quest to eliminate all threats, we are creating a generation that is less healthy, more anxious, and ultimately, less prepared for the world.